Opportunity doesn't knock, it hums. Most of us miss it because it doesn't sound like a big ambition, it doesn't have an applause. It sounds like something very small, something that's begging to get done. My name is Faheem Ahamed. I was born and raised in Bombay, but my entire adult life was built here in the UAE, my adopted home for 25 years. A land that keeps proving that imagination is a resource. That imagination is a resource. And this is the story of what happens when you learn to hear that hum and act on it. I grew up in a very loving family with deep roots in plantation and spice trading. We had stability, we had structure, and we had a lot of expectations. In fact, generational expectations. But what my parents gave me was much, much rarer. They gave me the freedom to try. Back in school, my friends and I started organizing events out of necessity at one point in time. But soon that evolved into a business. We were underaged, we were unlicensed, and we were completely unqualified. And then early on, we were hosting an event. One night, a big crowd, and the lights went off. The sound failed, and we had hundreds of people kind of booing. We stood there. We were all but just 14 years old. Sweating, terrified. It worked. Beyond belief. And that was my first taste of an agency and realizing that you don't need permission to begin. If you see something worth doing, just start. Even if you are terrified. And especially if you're unready. Later, that same instinct took me across oceans, from Australia to Asia to the Middle East and beyond, chasing work that had no maps. Every project felt like impossible until it was done. But over time, I learned that real success isn't about being the first to act. It's about acting with a conscience. Doing well matters. Doing good actually defines you. And doing no harm is the bare minimum we can do and we owe each other. That belief found its home here in the UAE. It's where my wife and I have built our life. This is where our daughters were born and raised. And I've been very blessed and privileged of witnessing and on many occasions working within the moments when this young nation tested gravity. When others prescribed limits, UAE kept finding altitude. Quite challenging. From turning a desert into a destination, to building systems that the world said couldn't exist. This country has never waited for permission either. Its strength is not its size, and its strength is not its resources either. It is its courage to act before the world believes. And that's UA. Here, doubt has become design. Skepticism has become structure. And in many ways, optimism is the infrastructure on which we build. So that spirit, the spirit of dreamers who do, has shaped me more than any class or boardroom could ever have. And when you live among doers, you actually forget to be afraid. Speaking about being afraid, I had fear of bees. I still do. My daughters hate bees. And they actually run away. But then I learned something that I couldn't unlearn. About 80% of everything that we consume and eat comes from these pollinators, including bees. So imagine this. You walked into your supermarket, and if 8 of the 10 shelves are empty because we're losing about 1 billion bees in a year, that's what life's going to look like. And it's quite frightening. And no one's even tried to measure this or have managed to measure it. That was a moment where the hum returned back for me. And it was quite loud. Thanks to our founder, Peng Xiao at G42, we took that question to our scientists and our engineers. Could we use intelligence to protect these small creatures that pretty much sustain life? Their eyes lit up and they said, now that's a challenge trying to solve. And that spark became the founding pillar for a movement we started called BeWild. We didn't invent this. We simply saw it, and we then acted and contributed by building a global coalition of AI scientists, biologists, and storytellers to map this and begin the prediction for pollinator health using data, genomics, and geospatial intelligence. Then about a year and a half ago, we said we also need to tell this story. So to tell the story, we went on a journey to produce a film, a documentary film. And this film has been narrated by Ellie Goulding. It's directed by Josh and Rebecca Tickle, who recently did. We have Angelina Jolie, Susan Rockefeller, and Peng Xiao as our executive producers. And Leonardo DiCaprio has now given it the wrapper, and this program sits under BeWild. Born out of Abu Dhabi, it's now going global with this film and this initiative. But BeWild was never about saving bees alone. It was about saving our ability to see and then to act before it's too late. So maybe your next opportunity also won't knock. Maybe it's a buzz. Maybe it'll annoy you before It actually inspires you. But if you stay open and if you let your mind be a receptor of good ideas, you'll know it when it lands. And when it does, please don't wait for permission. And definitely don't wait for perfect. See it and act on it. Because opportunity actually hides in plain sight. And when we learn to see it and act, we actually change lives. Sometimes entire nations. Sometimes the world. And sometimes we even save some bees. Thank you very much for your time.